So it seems like Valve is finally back in action, with 2 updates in 2 days. It's just this time around they're fixing bugs from the previous tweaks as well as long before the Armory update. Late yesterday evening, CS Dev sent out yet again another update, fixing bugs from yesterday such as surfing. They address flying, alongside a few others. With Valve having recently changed jumping and now having in-game players jump higher, this has led to dozens of complaints with surfing being broken, and of course with jump throws not having the same effect. Today's video, we're going to break down and showcase changes from last night's update, which all seem to be pretty solid. But we're also going to discuss how these changes will affect the future of Counter-Strike alongside a bunch more. Now today's video sponsor is Skins Monkey. Skins Monkey is a CS2 trading site for all your skin needs. Whether you're choosing to deposit your in-game items or real-life cash, Skins Monkey has it all. If you choose to trade yet need to top up your balance, you can do so by also using my code MANDO for a free $5. Alongside depositing, you get an additional 35% of a deposit bonus. With Skins Monkey's large variety of skins, they also offer daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways. If interested, the link will be in the top of the description down below. And of course, from the meat and potatoes, let's hop into last night's blog post. There's one category, that being miscellaneous, with 5 different points. First up is the first-person inspect animation in the inventory and loadout will now match the in-game view model settings and FOV. So overall, this was a really good change, but it was also something I never really realized we kind of needed. I think it's mainly because in Counter-Strike 2, you can see other people's FOVs, what kind of view model they play with. So you can see that there's many different players. Let's just say you hop into a casual, 5 or 10 players, maybe plus out of that entire match, are going to be playing with something you've never even really seen before, and they're actually taking the game serious. So for those players, which seem to be a majority of the community, they're now going to be able to inspect their skins in-game or skins they want to pick up for what their in-game view model is, what it's going to look like from what they play with. The second point is Valve fixed a regression with smoke rendering in old demo files. Now this was pointed out by Thor CS yesterday, but there was a bug where you couldn't see smokes, them specifically popping in a demo. So if you were a first-time player and didn't really know what was going on, didn't see the smoke pop, you very well could have thought that the other team or maybe someone on your team or maybe even yourself was cheating. But as of last night's update, that's been fixed. The third point is Valve fixed the damage report to show correctly in casual and deathmatch game modes. So what obviously this means is by the end of the game, or if you want to call it the after action report, it wasn't reporting, well, the amount of damage you dealt. Now I think this was probably not displaying properly because of the most recent HUD changes, but I also think it could have been a bug from the Armory update for when Valve nerfed what kind of damage does what, how it's calculated by the end of the game, so people couldn't XP farm, at least in a legitimate manner. Now one of the other big additions Valve added is the fourth point from last night's blog post, where Valve added the SV_jump_precision_enable, so servers with certain custom game modes, for example surf, can opt out without the jump precision improvements. And long story short, for people who don't really know what's going on, just a couple days ago, Valve pretty much changed entirely how jumping works inside Counter-Strike 2, but they made it so you could jump just a little bit higher, which messed up a lot of people on custom maps, for an example surfing, specifically community servers. There was an effect where people would get in game and they were catching on ledges 24/7. Now we will touch on this a little bit after, but because of this command, you can now put it in by default for your server, or you can put it in by yourself if you're joining someone else's random server and they quite haven't updated yet. It's gonna be back to normal, at least for surfing. But it's kind of crazy how Valve for a fix just added a command. Better late than never, and that's pretty awesome they added it. And lastly, on last night's blog post is quite a funny one. It says, I have to go, my planet needs me. Now what this is connecting to is based off the jump update just a couple days ago as well. For whatever reason, at the end of any match you'd play, if that was casual, deathmatch, competitive, premier, offline, or online with bots, within the last maybe 3 to 5 seconds, if you jumped last second, you would start floating up to the sky. And there's quite a few funny clips of this. Really reminded me of the bird update in I believe 2014 of Train from CSGO. Now it wasn't broken because you could only do it at the end of the game, but it was something that many people were suspecting that Flying Scoutsman or something like that was going to be coming to the game, but obviously this was just a bug and nothing else. But it's funny that Valve added this as the bug fix. And that pretty much concludes last night's blog post. Now problems that are still here that have been before this jump update are one, this still weird flashbang glitch. You first throw a fake flash just by dropping it, by kind of aiming it, and then you throw the second flash that is real. And I also want to backtrack from yesterday's video where I said that this was still in the game, but in reality, I believe this delay between a fake and real flash was to get rid of the bug in the first place, but we can't really be sure. The timing in between updates seems to be very similar, but it still seems off compared to what it used to be. Not sure if this was intentional or maybe it was just a bug on Valve's end. Now heading back to the jump update, I do want to mention how crazy it is that such a small change, which is big in the bigger picture, can lead to something being as broken such as nade lineups. Maybe this wasn't really thought of very well when the devs were doing this, but since you can jump higher, players are having to relearn a smoke or two. But before you go ham on the devs or the keyboard warriors in the comments, you're not having to relearn all the basic jump throws that you had. It's actually more of the difficult lineups that are seeing a change. I also will note that Valve in the past hasn't normally done something like this, at least as big, changing something this impactful to gameplay this close to a major, which will be played within the next month. I'm assuming pros are either going to have to relearn a thing or two, specifically with smokes, before they play on this new jump update, maybe going into the major, certain tournaments. But according to Thor CS, pro players in the Blast Premier World Final, they're going to be playing and are right now playing on the previous patch to the jumping edition. So then they can relearn all these smokes and util, specifically the nade jump throw lineups, long before the major starts. Now in terms of surfing with the command SV_jump_precision_enable, this is now going to have to be applied by default if you want to surf properly on someone else's server or maybe your own. Or else, like we mentioned earlier, you're going to get caught on ledges and it's just going to be broken, which was definitely a weird fix, but at least it's something, especially for the surfing community. My question is is this a long-term patch, or is this just more of a placeholder and something more is coming down the line? Now, also according to the data miner known as Thor CS, optimization for Counter-Strike 2 at this moment is still a complete mess, which now I want to end today's video on optimization, specifically with FPS. It's been a complete mess dating back to the Armory update. Ever since the Armory update dropped, FPS for some players has been down 10+%, and since then hasn't really changed much. So could an optimization update for performance ship out before the major? Let me know what you guys think down below. What problems are you guys still having? Did you enjoy last night's update? I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay positive, sexy. I'm out, guys. Peace.